Hi, folks. Welcome to the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2026 show. Day three, we break down all the key moments, talking points, and turning points. Right? We had yet another action-packed day of World Cup cricket. I know for some fans it might seem very overwhelming. Three matches in a day, but I think as fans, spectators, and just lovers of the game, we aren't complaining one bit, right? Yesterday, it started out with Italy versus Scotland at Eden Gardens. Then we had Zimbabwe versus Oman at Colombo. And the day ended with a rather interesting match, right? With Canada taking on South Africa. And each of the matches, although very predictable results and outcomes, as I was telling Sanchit off record as well, still had some very interesting talking points. And to all the folks who've joined us in today's live, please spam our live chat. We'd love to hear from you. And the World Cup, truly comes alive when fans are very engaging. So looking forward to that. But first things first, Sanchit. Again, your first thoughts on the day itself, right? We had what again a triple header, so to say. And yeah, just how did you process all the outcomes from yesterday?
Well, I mean, triple header, especially on a weekday, it's quite an unusual sight. And I know that the problem of getting it overwhelmed, it is a problem for fans, especially for the casual viewers. And but it's okay. But the kind of action that we saw yesterday, despite the predictable results, I think we did see some individual brilliances. My favorite has to be the performance of Zimbabwe, especially in their bowling, as our friend in the comment section is mentioning that they bowled really well. We'll be talking about that. But first things first, Scotland versus Italy. I think actually tuned into that match in the second innings. I missed out on the first innings where Scotland batted really well. I catched it up on the highlights later in the evening. And trust me, Scotland really, it is always exciting to see them play whenever they are there in an ICC tournament. And it was really pleasing to see how they played yesterday, knowing that they didn't even know that they would be playing in this World Cup maybe 1 month ago or so. So they had actually cut down on their preparation mentally as well as on the field itself. So to have that kind of a performance against an Italy side who has been in quite some form, I think they won all their warm up matches. So they were having that momentum. But I think missing out on their captain just before the game, that actually dented their confidence. But credit goes to Scotland, the way that they batted in the first innings. I think George Munsey, with his 84 not out at the top of the order, that really set the tone. And we finally got our first 200. And we just spoke about it in yesterday's show about who will be the team getting the first 200. And Scotland was the team to do it. So, really exciting times for Scotland.
Yeah, I mean, talking about match five itself, right? Italy versus Scotland. I mean, Italy's not really a team you'd expect, to see in the world of cricket, right? Considering all their exploits in football. But here too, right? Making quite the impression in their very first World Cup appearance itself. But Sanchit, let's talk about like how they, won the toss and they chose to, field first at Eden Gardens. Now, again, with the flat Kolkata surface itself, shorter boundaries on offer, do you think that decision sort of immediately put them on the back foot because Scotland was always going to capitalize and probably get to that big total that they eventually did?
Definitely, I think I was actually honestly surprised at the toss call, and I thought that since it's a day game, especially in that hot weather at 11 a.m. start, I thought that batting first would be an ideal decision. But I mean, credit goes to Scotland. I mean, despite all the challenges, they managed to put up a big score, and I think Italy were always the team chasing behind at that time. But despite all that, I think Italy did bat well, even though they lost all the 10 wickets. But I still feel that the kind of cricket that they played, the brand of cricket that they played, they never really looked like slowing down despite losing wickets. So that is the kind of positive signs I think they might take from this game. And I think they got bundled out in about 15 or 16 overs, but they still managed to score more than 130 runs. So they knew that they had to play a certain band of cricket to score well. So it's kind of a positive sign for them going forward into the tournament. So I'm really excited to see what they do on the fresh Wankhede wickets when they play Nepal in a couple of days' time. So that's going to be a game to watch. But credit goes to Scotland. I think they really were the deserving winners, and it's a good start for them. And that group, I think, is regarded as an exciting group because anything can happen. And so, if the way that these two teams are playing in that group, then the games are going to be epic, especially against West Indies and England, the big boys of the tournament.
Yeah, always love to see a good underdog fight in that way. And I think that Syed goes on to say, right, Italy may surprise everyone with their performances. Because, again, just coming back to this match, Scotland, right, the kind of start that they did have, George Munsey, as you said, coming up with such a good performance, there was like a brief moment of panic. They lost Michael Jones. You still had, Brandon McCullum and Richie Berrington, all of them coming in with some very timely knocks there. So how do you just sort of look at Scotland's batting performance? And 200 was always going to be a good score, right?
Definitely, yes. I think the kind of contribution that they got at the top of the order that really set the tone for them. And despite losing some wickets in the middle, I think the way how Brendan McMillan played that 41 of 18 balls, I think that really was the killer instinct that they needed towards the end, which got them to the 200 plus total. And that is exactly what you want in this tournament. Like one player can't really carry your team. You really need someone from the other end to support you, and that is what exactly Scotland did. And that is what something which was lacked in performances of Nepal, Netherlands in the way that they lost against bigger teams. So Scotland will really take big appreciations from this particular inning. So finally, I think they got the 200 runs mark, and that really can set the tone for them in the rest of the tournament, especially with the games coming up for them. I think the game against Nepal at the Wankhede Stadium, given how Nepal has been playing, and then again England. I think there's a record of England that they have not won a single match against a European side in ICC events. So maybe that can also be addressed given the way how Scotland has been playing. But yeah, I think Scotland really did well yesterday.
Yeah, because I mean, you just look at the partnerships itself, right? George Munsey and Jones, that opening stand of 126 was very crucial, right, in sort of setting the tone. And it felt like, Italy probably missed a trick or two by not trying to break that partnership earlier. Because once George Munsey fell as well, you still had that late acceleration, right, coming in from McMullen and even Michael Leask, right?
Michael Leask, yes.
22 of 5. I think it was just such a good knock, right? He was undoubtedly, going to win the player of the match award because we knew his exploits with the ball too. But then how imperative was this cameo, right, to ensure that the total just right jumped from competitive to out of reach for Italy?
Definitely, yes. I think Michael Leask had a really ball at the ground yesterday. I mean, not just with the bat, with the ball itself. I think that five ball cameo that he played in the later in the first innings, I think that really set the tone for him as well. And the confidence that he got out of that, that really reflected in the way that he bowled later in the second innings. But yeah, I mean, obviously, any team, I think chasing a 200 plus total in a big event like the World Cup is difficult. Just be it a bigger team or be it a smaller team. So I think Scotland were always ahead in the game after the first innings, and Italy were always catching up for that. But I mean, still credit goes to Italy. I think the way that they batted in the second innings, despite losing wickets, I think they really set the tone, which I mentioned earlier. I think they can take some positives out of this from the way that they played in the second innings.
Yeah, because my next pointer was going to be about at least batting itself, right? I mean, it was a far from ideal start for them. They lost 3 wickets up front in the power play itself. Like, again, how much did, Michael Leask once again with his double strike sort of derail the chase before it even began, right, for them?
Exactly. I think we have seen this trend so far in the World Cup. I mean, the teams who lose a lot of wickets in the power play, they just never really get going. And I think that was the ultimate killer blow for Italy, losing those quick wickets in the power play. But Michael Leask, I mean, credit goes to him. He really carried on his confidence and performances from the first innings exploits to the second innings. I mean, 4 for 17. I mean, it's almost like a World Cup classic for them, and really credit goes to them. But still, despite losing early wickets, I think Italy really did well enough to reach where they really reached. I think the exploits from Manenti, I think in later down the order, I think he really played well to get them at that position. So if I was an Italy fan, I really wouldn't be too much panic at this stage. I mean, yes, the top order really did not capitalize on the conditions that were there, but I would really be pleased from the lower orders effort. So if the top order can find a way to actually balance it out, I think Italy will be really an exciting side to watch. And definitely, I agree with the comment section that they might surprise everyone with the performances. So it's still the first game, as we said for Nepal yesterday. So I think, but still positive signs for Italy.
Yeah, because I think one of the biggest positive you did talk about him too briefly was Ben Manenti, right? His knock of 52. And I think given the partnerships that he sort of had with a few batters in that way, stabilized things briefly, right? Again, was there ever, like for you, a point where there's a realistic comeback that was going to be possible? Or do you think Scotland's bowling was just so good that they had quite literally shut the door and the comeback seemed definitely not possible?
So there was an instance where I thought that they might pull it off. I think when they were 100 or odd runs for four in 12 or 13 overs, I think that's when the required run rate was also within grasp. And I thought that maybe if they can like manage to save some wickets in hand and take the game to maybe 15 or 16 overs without losing a few wickets, then we might see a good run chase. But the wickets just kept on tumbling, and I think they just collapsed from 120 for 4 or 5 to 136 all out. And I think credit goes to Scotland. They never really took their grasp of the game, and Italy just couldn't handle it, to be very honest.
And yeah, probably that's why we can also talk about Scotland's bowling effort itself, right? Michael Leask obviously is the biggest talking point. A very miserly spell, right? 4 overs, just giving away 17 runs, pocketing 4 wickets. But you still had support from the rest of the bowling, right? Almost every bowler there getting a wicket. And Mark Watt too, right? Another economic spell, picking those 2 wickets. Scotland again, very pleased with their bowling performance there.
Definitely. I mean, we spoke about Michael Leask. I think he was the star of the match yesterday. But let's also talk about Mark Ward. I mean, he is someone who has always been that classical left arm of orthodox spinner, and we have seen him actually bowling a lot of economic spells in the past ICC events as well. So it's really good to see that he still got it and is still doing what he does best for Scotland, bowling those quick spells and also economical spells. So 4 for 20, 2 for 24, I think his spell was. So I think it's really amazing that they managed to find that balance in the bowling for them. But credit goes to Scotland. I mean, they really never really panicked despite Italy were hitting them in the middle overs. So I think that really is the key for all the teams. That even when you are not really doing well in terms of containing runs, you shouldn't panic. And I think that is exactly what Scotland did, and they got their way back into the game and still managed to have a comprehensive win in the end.
Yeah, a massive 73 run win not only does a world of good to the confidence, but also to the net run rate, right? Going ahead if they were to see themselves in contention to qualify. But Sanchit, let's talk about match six, right? Zimbabwe versus Oman. Again, just your first thoughts on the game itself. I think for a lot of us Zimbabwe lovers, right? Nostalgia lovers, it was really nice to see Zimbabwe back in the mix at an ICC event after a point in time. And even Brendan Taylor, right? All the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs he's gone through. Just lovely to see him back, right? In Zimbabwe colors.
Absolutely. I mean, it is always a good sight to see Zimbabwe cricket do well, especially in ICC events. They have always been a veteran team. We all know the classic Zimbabwe sides of the late 90s and the early 2000s. It is always so good to see them perform well in this particular tournament. But yesterday, I mean, it was looking right from ball one. It was looking like there is only just one winner, and it was Zimbabwe. The way that they bowled yesterday, I mean, that was classic. The way I think everyone, not just one player, I think everyone in that bowling lineup turned up, taking crucial wickets. And Oman really, I mean, credit goes to Zimbabwe, but Oman that it actually showed their inexperience. I mean, getting bundled out for 100 odd runs, there was just no way back in the game. And Zimbabwe credit, I think Zimbabwe really bowled well. Richard Ngarava, blessing Muzarabani. I think you might really enjoy his bowling. He's an RCB champion despite not playing a match, but I think he still had his great game yesterday. So I mean, credit goes to Zimbabwe the way that they bowled. And second innings, Brendan Taylor, the old dog, that he still got it, and it's so good to see him do well. So credit goes to them.
Yeah, Brendan Taylor also has the very interesting distinction of, being, I think, the only player this edition to have featured in that first edition and in
Exactly.
this
Yeah,
one.
I
On
was going
top
to
of the
mention
years
that.
in between. And even such, just looking at the toss itself, right? Zimbabwe chose to field first at Colombo. Now again with the surface offering that sort of an early movement and grip itself. Like how decisive did you think that call turned out to be in shaping the contest right from the power play? Because Oman just had a very terrible batting effort, started right from the beginning itself, right?
Definitely, I think the toss was crucial. I mean, we have seen that in Colombo so far that teams batting first will always have that trouble. We saw that with Pakistan in the first game. So I think the toss was actually crucial, and Zimbabwe really took advantage of it. The way that they bowled, the paces when they were in their tandem, I think that was absolutely insane to watch as a cricket fan. And Oman never really had a second chance. I mean, with the first match, I think you really saw that at least Italy had a break where they got the runs, but for Oman, they never really got it. I mean, right from ball one, it was just Zimbabwe who was dominating. And I mean, till the end, it was just looking like there is just one winner.
Very true, right? Because when you look at Oman's batting card at 24 for 4 inside the power play, it was always going to look difficult, right? To sort of recover from the early damage that had been caused by Blessing Muzarabani and, Richard and Ngarava. Like, did you think the damage was already too deep and just concerns there a little bit with Oman's batting?
Definitely, yes. I think from 24 for 4, but I still would like to praise them to at least get to the 100-run mark. I mean, at worst, I thought that they might even get bundled out below 60 at one point with the way how Zimbabwe were bowling. But credit goes to Oman. I think the way that the lower order players contributed towards the end, which got them to 100 odd run total. I think that is something what they will take as positives from that innings. But in the second innings, it was just about Zimbabwe, to be very honest.
Yeah, they quite literally stole honors, right? Because when you look at Oman's batting too, right? I think here you can take a brief moment to talk about the contribution coming there from Vinayak Shukla and
Hmm.
Sufyan Mahmood, right? Especially that phase. It ensured, as you rightly said, Oman got past that 100-run mark. Now, again, did you think Zimbabwe's bowlers just sort of allowed that stand to go on a little bit longer than ideal, maybe?
Yes, definitely. I think with Zimbabwe, I think they got a little bit carried away with the early wickets, and they just thought that it's okay to just relax for a while, and that actually led to Oman actually having a little bit of a sniff in the game at that one point. But still, I mean, even at that point, it never really looked like Zimbabwe were panicking, and they were always ahead of the game despite that mini fight back from Oman at that one stage. So, but still, I think from Zimbabwe's point of view, they would really want to not let this kind of things happen in the future games, especially when they are playing against bigger teams like Australia. I think that is going to be a great game. And Zimbabwe actually has beaten Australia in one of the T20s earlier. So I think Australia will remember that. So that game is going to be epic. So from that game's point of view, I think Zimbabwe wouldn't want to repeat that kind of things in the middle overs itself.
Yeah, very true. And again, casting our attention to Zimbabwe's bowling effort itself. We've spoken about Blessing Muzarabani, how good he was. Again, 4 overs, another miserly spell, right? Just giving away 16 runs, picking 3 wickets. You had even Brad Evans,
Brad
right,
Evans.
be amongst the wickets. Like, again, if you just had to overall look at Zimbabwe's bowling performance, how would you look at it?
I think it was like a collective effort. I mean, not one player has carried that performance. I think all the players stepped up, and all the pacers. I think they really enjoyed bowling on that Colombo wicket, and that is always good to see. I'm someone who enjoys watching fast bowlers thrive, especially in a format where batters are always the dominant one, the T20 format. So it is always good to see fast bowlers having some sort of help from the wicket and the way that they ball in tantrum. I think that is what really defines this Zimbabwe side. They really don't rely on just one player; they rely on a complete team effort, and I think that is what makes them dangerous. So the credit goes to them. I think they really bowled well, and they never really allowed Oman to have any sort of advantage. And I think bowling those tighter spells, even from those bowlers who didn't get more wickets, but they still kept the run rate intact, and they always kept on creating pressure from the other end, and the Pacers just enjoyed taking wickets from the other.
Yeah, and the task was pretty much cut out, right? Chasing 104 from 20 overs. You thought Zimbabwe is, going to have a cakewalk, make an absolute meal out of it. And to their credit, they did, right? The kind of start that they got, courtesy Marumani. Again, some when you just look at that early phase itself, right? They lost Marumani and Myers quite quickly. Like, how important do you think that calm third wicket partnership was, right? Brian Bennett and Brendan Taylor just, rewinding time with. Such a classic knock. Again, it just killed any faint hopes that Oman could possibly have, right, of a comeback.
Exactly, and that is where I think experience shows up. The experience of the veteran Brendan Taylor that actually showed up in that particular phase. I mean, losing 2 wickets, quick wickets for no runs. I think at 30 odd runs, I think that really might have caused a little bit of panic in that Zimbabwe batting order. But obviously, you had the experience of Brendan Taylor, and you also had Sikandar Raza down the order if it was required. So he really wasn't required. That just shows that Zimbabwe really had it under control. But credit goes to Bennett and Brendan Taylor for that partnership, and Oman really never really looked like they were having a chance in the second innings due to this particular partnership. So Zimbabwe had a calm and composed run chase in the end, which really would be the biggest positive for them. So despite losing early wickets in the power play, they still managed to assert their dominance in the game and never really looked like being troubled. So that is what I think Zimbabwe will take from this game when they play the bigger teams later in the tournament. So I think if I was a Zimbabwe fan, I would be really honored with this performance.
Yeah, fair points there. And again, Sanjay, just closing thoughts with this match itself. We had Brian Bennett stick around till the end, an unbeaten 48, blessing Muzarabani, with that match-winning spell of 3 for 16 as well. Again, fair to say, Zimbabwe would be very pleased with this very complete performance in terms of just execution across all three phases, and will take a lot of confidence just going ahead.
Definitely, yes. I think especially with the bowling, I think they would be really pleased with the way that they bowled. I think not relying on an individual player's performance, I think that has to be the key talking point from them. So I think Zimbabwe would really be pleased with the way that they played yesterday, not just with the bat but also with the ball, losing early wickets and then managing to just calmly walk their way into the run chase. So Zimbabwe would be pretty comfortable going into the next match, and the momentum is with them now, so they know exactly what it takes to play in these kind of ICC events. They are not newcomers, they are not new timers in this particular kind of tournament, so they know exactly what they are coming up. So I think for Zimbabwe's point of view, they are pretty much well placed. It is just about how they can manage to topple one of the big boys in in the group stages, and I think they might. I think they might, especially in this format. You never know who is on top. So I'm really looking forward to the Australia game against Zimbabwe because it's going to be exciting to see what they can do.
Yeah, interesting times ahead for sure. And our live chat too, right? We have some very familiar faces telling hello to us and to you, Sanchit, as well. A question coming in here quickly is prediction. Any Pakistan USA win, like USA win favorites last, 2024 World Cup. USA might win in that super over. I know we still have one match of yesterday's to discuss, but today's Sanchit again a very mouth-watering clash, right? Pakistan taking on USA. Do you have any predictions? Do you intend the match to go to a super over? Because Pakistan again looked quite scratchy, right, in their win that came earlier this tournament. But USA again could potentially find form and pull off not just an upset but a proper win too.
Definitely, I think the best time for USA to play Pakistan is it's in its early stages of the tournament, because as we have seen that Pakistan really likes. I don't know what is the relation of Pakistan starting slowly in an ICC tournament, but as the tournament keeps on progressing, they find their groove, and then that's when they actually are at their best. So I think for USA's point of view, they are playing Pakistan at its perfect time when they just managed to find a way to win against Netherlands in the first game. But even from USA's point of view, I think the way that they played against India with the ball, especially in the first innings, so that they might take some confidence from that, and it's going to be a mouth-watering clash. And I hope that as a neutral, it is somewhat similar to what we saw 2 years ago in USA. I think that super over was indeed a classic. But as far as predictions go, I think that despite all the story of an underdog, all the story about how USA can manage to topple it off, I still think that Pakistan will be a little bit more prepared as compared to what it was last time, and I see Pakistan winning this match.
Yeah, fair point there. I think Pakistan do enter the match as overwhelming favorites, but I think as neutrals, we can still hope for a very interesting match on cards too. Syed going on to emphasize that US is playing really good cricket right now. Pakistan has to really work hard to beat them. Yeah, just hoping it is one of those matches that really lives up to the billing itself. But again, Sanchit, just coming back to our matches of discussion from yesterday itself, we saw quite the interesting match, right? Again, with Canada taking on South Africa. Again, like, what were your first thoughts on the game, right? We don't really see a Canada versus South Africa clash happening anywhere in international cricket. Thanks to World Cup, we get to see something like this. So again, just what do you make of this clash? And just were you satisfied to see what happened?
Definitely, yes. I think I spoke to you on yesterday's podcast about the nature of Ahmedabad pitch and how it will favor the batters more. And we were discussing about the T20 cricket finally back to that 160, 180 kind of a total. But with the Ahmedabad wickets, obviously you expect a run fetch for the batters. And with South Africa batting first, I mean, it always looked like they are going to score 200 plus runs. Despite that spell from Ansh Patel, I think he took 3 wickets in his spell. Despite all that, I think South Africa never really looked bothered or troubled, to be very honest, in that first innings. But credit goes to South Africa how they managed to hit those runs quickly. And in that, I think they have been playing in Ahmedabad for a while. They played a bilateral match against India in this particular venue, and they might also be playing a Super 8 fixture against India at the same venue itself in a couple of weeks' time. So they would really be happy with the way how they batted in this venue. But credit goes to South Africa. I think the way that they batted, especially runs coming from all the members in the top four. I think they were always the deserving favorites.
Yeah, very true. Because at the toss itself, right, Canada chose to field first. Again, this is the Ahmedabad track that we're talking about. Like again, with the size of the ground and just taking into account these are evening conditions. Like, did it feel like the right call for you? Like, was batting first always going to be sort of like the safer option at this surface?
Definitely, I think if I was South Africa, I would really want to test my skills as defending, especially against these kind of matches, in this kind of teams, in this kind of a stage, because we never know what is going to happen in the Super 8. So I think South Africa really backed their bowling to defend any kind of a total that they pull off, and their batting obviously has to be their strength. I mean, the way that Aiden Markram batted at the top of the order, and then you saw Quinton de Kock and Ryan Rickelton coming into the coming in as the supporters, and then that partnership between David Miller and Tristan Stubbs, that really just took the game away from Canada, despite those 3 wickets from Ansh Patel. So South Africa never really looked first about anything in that particular innings. So I think it was a good call from South Africa. They really trusted their bowlers to defend any kind of total, and that really shows a team that is very much confident. And it is good sign for South Africa that they trusted their bowlers to do so, and that is exactly what they did in the second innings.
Yeah, because talking about South Africa, I think they raced off to a great start, right? 65 for no loss in the power play. Again, did it look like to you like one of those Ahmedabad nights where anything under 200 was always, going to be tough to defend?
Definitely, yes. I think that's the nature of the Ahmedabad wicket, and anything under 200 will be difficult. And we saw that in the second innings also. I think Canada lost 4 wickets early, but they still managed to score 150 odd runs. That actually shows that the nature of Ahmedabad wicket, that it is going to be the favoring to the batting side. And but still, I think the confidence that South Africa had in their bowlers, despite knowing this fact that it is always going to be favoring the batting side. I think that really shows that South Africa are really well prepared to play in this particular tournament, and their bowlers are the ones who are going to win matches. So I feel that in such pitches like Wankhede, Eden Gardens, and Ahmedabad, the team who has quality bowling side, I think they are going to be the ones doing really well. Batting, I think, obviously has to be a key element, but I think the team with good bowlers who can bowl those economical spells, control pressure, not really go for runs, and take wickets from the other end, they are going to do really well. I think South Africa has to be up there who do this really well.
Yeah, and I think the way South Africa just went about pacing their entire batting innings itself, right? Let's talk about Aiden Markram, 59 of 32, really set the tone. Now, again, in your view, did that early partnership with Markram and Deacock, sort of completely knock Canada out of contention itself? Because later you had the likes of Ryan Rickelton, you had David Miller, doing David Miller things, and Tristan Stubbs, right? A late call up to the squad, ensuring that they got past that 200 run mark, and eventually they ended up with 213. So, just about South Africa's batting effort itself.
Definitely, I think that opening partnership set the tone for South Africa. I mean, they scored about 60 odd runs in the power play itself, which was more than what Canada would have wanted to concede, and I think that really set the tone. And after that, it was very difficult for Canada to find a way to get back into the game. But credit goes to them. I think they still managed to do so. I think till the 14 over mark, where they managed to pick up those quick wickets. But after that, it was all about David Miller and Tristan Stubbs, which got them to the 200 run mark. But I think, yes, we have to talk about Aiden Markram, the kind of experience that he brings at the top of the order for South Africa, an experienced figure, calm and composed figure, combining with someone like a Deacock and Ryan Rickelton in later coming up in that top order. That really complements with how South Africa plays. I think they have a good mix of calm and also fire in that batting order. So in situations where they collapse early, you will really rely on someone like a David Miller down the order and Aiden Markram at the top of the order. And when you really need those runs on good batting wickets, you have Tristan Stubbs, you have David Miller who can accelerate well, you have De Kock who has with all his experience and the kind of form that he is in at the moment to really just take the ballers to the cleaners. So it's a good batting side for South Africa. It's a good batting depth that they also have, which wasn't really tested in the first innings. But South Africa definitely a dangerous team to watch.
Yeah, I think if you just look at the performances in ICC events, right? At least till the run up to knockouts, they are a team that definitely can give any team a run for their money. But briefly, let's talk about Canada's bowling effort itself, right? The biggest talking point being Ansh Patel. I think you really enjoyed just watching him go about his craft. Pick three massive wickets, and just overall, if you had to look at Canada's bowling effort, like areas for improvement, or did you just feel like they conceded a little too much?
I think a bit of both actually, but I really loved how Ansh Patel bowled. Only if he had someone at the other end to just control the runs flow. I mean, it's okay not to take wickets, but it's also important to not really let the run flow happen, especially in that middle over phase when they got those three quick wickets in quick succession below the 15 over run mark. I think that is where they really needed someone to support Ansh Patel from the other end to just keep the run rate intact and maybe put some kind of a pressure on South Africa. But that never really happened. All the bowlers went for more than 10 runs per over, and I think that was really the difference maker for Canada. So hopefully in the next few matches we see Ansh Patel carry this kind of performance. He really shouldn't be too disheartened from this bowling performance. Only that the other players around him can find some sort of inspiration and manage to put up a better bowling performance, and that's where I think Canada can find some positive from this innings.
Yeah, that's very true. And Syed again going on to mention in our chat that Markram batted well for his 50, followed by Ryan Rickleton, finished by Miller and Stubbs, pretty much reiterating the points that we brought in of how it was a very complete batting performance in that regard. Another comment goes on to say, but I have a confusion about the opening pair of Markram and Peacock, or do you think it should be Markram and Ryan Rickleton, right? I think Ryan Rickleton, for the uninitiated, was used by MI, briefly as an opener too there. So, Sanchit, where do you stand on this, right? Do you think South Africa is doing it right now with Markram and Peacock, or do you think there is some room to get in Ryan Rickleton there, but at the cost of whom, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good problem for South Africa to have. You have two quality batters fighting for that opening spot, and both actually are quite similar in the way that they pace their innings and the way that they play at the top of the innings, and that is what made Mumbai Indians also buy Ryan Rickleton in the absence of Quinton de Kock. But obviously, if I am to choose someone, I would really go with the experience of Quinton de Kock, especially in the kind of form that he is in right now, carrying that form from the bilaterals that he played against India, and his experience of playing in this kind of wickets from the IPL and all the international matches that he's played. I would really back the experience of De Kock at the top of the order. Ryan Rickelton definitely can really do well as at number three, and he did show some signs in yesterday's fixture. So I feel if I was a South African fan, I really wouldn't be too bothered with this dilemma. I would really be happy that we have three quality players in the top half, which really can contribute well towards our success. So it's a good problem to have, but I would stick to what they did against Canada. De Kock as an opener, and then Rickelton at three.
Yeah, why fix something that ain't broken is probably,
Exactly.
one of the adages that would really make sense here. But one last bit about Canada's batting effort itself, right? When you just look at the run chase itself, I think it's fair to say, right? It was effectively dented in the power play. They lost four wickets. Sanchit, how amazing was Lungi and Giri, right, in his opening spell? I think for all the Lungi and Giri fans, it's good to see him, being back amongst the wickets, albeit a little expensive, but still, him being that effective with the new ball, great signs, right?
Definitely great signs, and it is always good to see him ball in this kind of fashion. It is just about him being injury prone that really frustrates me as a fan. But when he is actually fit and fine, that is exactly what he can do. And beat Canada, beat any bigger team, also I think he can contribute that kind of a performance. And yesterday he was at his absolute best. I mean, dismantling that Canada top order in the power play itself shows that what he is capable of. And along with those quick wickets from Marco Jansen from the other end as well, that never really uh, let Canada get off to that run chase. But despite all that, I think they really did well to reach where they got. I think 150 odd runs. I think Dhaliwal played really well with his 60 odd runs in the top order. So that is something what they can take as positives from Canada's point of view. But South Africa were just really too good with the ball in the second innings, which got them the comprehensive win that they needed at the start of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And briefly, again, just talking about Canada's batting effort, I think Navneet Dhaliwal, right, with his 49 ball, 64, he looked an imperious touch, right, hitting seven boundaries and that 1-6 en route his knock. Again, positive emerging out of the chaos and storm that the rest of the Canadian batting was.
Definitely, I think that partnership with Harsh Thakur, I think after losing those four wickets, I think that really could be the biggest positive from them with this batting order. And they were up against possibly one of the best bowling attacks in the world in this format. And to do that kind of a partnership, that really is the biggest positive that they can take from this loss. And credit goes to them. I think they really batted well in that phase. But after that, it was just about South Africa how they managed to just. Keep the momentum with them and they managed to win it. But I'm really impressed with how Daliwal and Thakur actually batted in that partnership, and that is what something that they can take forward in from the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I think performances like this will, serve them good when they play against probably not as the stronger teams in that regard. Have a few wins in their kitty as well. But Sanchit, almost as we reach the end of our discussion, we have three yet another exciting matches, scheduled for today. As we talk right now, Namibia is taking on Netherlands. We have New Zealand take on UAE, and the Pakistan versus USA match itself. So again, just are you looking forward to these encounters and any possibility of an upset or something happening there?
I would really love for an upset to happen, to be very honest. But the only realistic chance is that if it happens, it will be in the third game of the day, which is Pakistan versus USA, because both the teams are in good form. Despite USA losing against India, they would really be having that kind of a momentum that they had by playing that kind of brand of cricket. So if any upset is to happen, I think it will be in the third game. But in the second game, I think New Zealand will be a little bit, not little bit, I think too overpowered for a team like UAE. I mean, no disrespect to them, but New Zealand are in just different zone when it comes to ICC events, and they really showed when they played against a top Afghanistan side in the first match. So if they can carry on that performance, I think New Zealand will be just too hard to beat in this tournament. And in the first game, I'm just following the scores at the moment, and Netherlands are bowling first. So Netherlands are known to be good chasers. So I think this match will be pretty good. If Namibia can find a way to score maybe 160, 170, I think that run chase is going to be an exciting one to watch. So I'm really looking forward to see what Netherlands are going to do, because they really need to have a win in their bank, because narrowly losing against Pakistan, that will really hurt. So it's good that they have a match right away against Namibia, an opponent I think they are very familiar with. So it's going to be an exciting run chase. So I'm really looking forward to see what this match does. So Namibia at the moment are doing well. So hopefully they manage to put up a good score, so we as neutral fans can see a good game.
And yeah, folks, I think we leave you with that, right? We have a very exciting match that's going on now. So, that pretty much concludes our today's discussion where we, spoke about all things day three of this ICC men's T20 World Cup. Thank you to all the folks who joined the live chat as well. Really loved your comments coming in through the rest of the, tournament. We will be doing lives like this. So make sure to, catch us live. But yeah, thank you, Sanchit. Thanks, everyone. We will see you tomorrow. Take care.